Coming up on This Week in the NBA, it was St. Patrick's Day in Miami. The Knick legend came back with a vengeance, but the wrath of Tim Hardaway rained down in Game 7. An extra special delivery for the mailman, a one-on-one with the heart of the Jazz. Will Tim Duncan be wearing Celtic green? We'll run down the lottery results. And our NBA insider talks coaching news. Kick back for a half. The show's next. Hello and welcome to another edition of This Week in the NBA. I'm Larry Smith. He is Mike the Stinger Glenn, or as we call him, Mr. Information.
Well, I tell you, Larry, I am really excited now. We're down to 4, so the excitement continues to mount.
Yeah, I tell you what a great Game 7 today down in Miami. Alonzo Mourning said the other day that when the Knicks were up 3-1 and already talking about facing the Bulls in the conference finals, it ticked them off, so to speak. So the fired-up Heat took Games 5 and 6 to put history on their side. In the last 25 Game 7s, the home team had won 23. Knicks in Miami with Larry Johnson and John Starks suspended due to the Game 5 incident, but Patrick Ewing, huge game, 37 points and 17 rebounds. The opening bucket, but the Heat went on an 18-0 run, up 11 after one quarter, and then Vashawn Leonard in the second. Nifty reverse lay-in. Heat maintained their big lead thanks to some really bad ball handling by the Knicks. 19 turnovers in the game, and it seemed like every one of them came at an inopportune time. 49-32 at halftime, more turnovers in the second half. Tim Hardaway, he'll go all the way. He got it done with Alonzo Mourning on the bench with 4 fouls, and he got hot from outside as the Heat would expand their lead in the third quarter. 6 of 10 from three-point range for Timmy Hardaway. Huge game, 38 points. That's a new Heat playoff record. Led by 21 at this point. Fourth quarter, the Knicks made a run, but look at Zoe. Great defense. 4 blocks for him. 101-90. Miami is the final count as they move on to face the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Knicks bow out in the second round for the 3rd year in a row and become only the 6th team to let a 3-1 series lead slip away. Mark Morgan has more from Miami.
Well, we'll see if we can do it. That's all I can say. We're confident, and we're going to make a hard push for it. We're not going down without a fight. You can believe that.
The Heat certainly demonstrated their pride and resiliency by becoming only the 6th team in NBA history to come back from a 3-1 deficit to win a playoff series. Miami appeared dead following Game 4, but Sunday their comeback was complete, their place in the record books secure.
We just looked in the mirror and said, hey, one game at a time. Let's play hard. Let's play good defense. Let's play good offense. But we got to execute on offense. We can't turn the ball over, and we have to give ourselves a chance every night.
We've all managed to pick each other up when things were down. When things were down, we didn't just stay down. We worked just that much harder to get ourselves back on top.
They believed in themselves. And along with that, we got a little overconfident, I think. And the game that we lost when we were down 3-1 came back to haunt us.
To many, this series turned in the final 2 minutes of Game 5, when several key Knicks players left the bench during the brawl. While P.J. Brown of the Heat was suspended for the final 2 games, New York had 3 players miss Game 6 and 2 more sit out Game 7. The Knicks suspensions may have cost this team a shot at the Bulls.
We knew that we had made a crucial mistake by leaving the bench, and we knew that we're not able to pick up the slack and carry the torch to win the basketball game. So that was really disappointing, and everyone sort of looked at themselves as a victim. And I felt that if I lost on the court, I thought that what the NBA did wasn't wrong. Like I said, I felt that they robbed me. They robbed me of a great opportunity.
They know the rules, Everybody know the rules. Our assistant coaches stopped our ball players from coming out. Their assistant coaches did. They know the rules. Patrick is not new to this rule. Larry Johnson, John Starks is not new to this rule. I mean, I can't help that.
In the pressure cooker that is a Game 7, Miami's Tim Hardaway was magnificent. With the Knicks fighting to get back into the game in the third quarter, Hardaway went wild, scoring 18 of the Heat's 22 third-period points. He buried 4 three-pointers and buried the Knicks' hopes as well, finishing with a game-high 38.
I kind of get used to it on this team. We've seen it so many times. We're never in a game like this where everything was on the line. But when he gets on a roll like that, nothing surprised me. He's just a fantastic player who, when he gets like that, is just, virtually unstoppable.
Alonzo said, "Hey, you got to take over. You got to take over. We need this game. We got to win." When I was in the zone, I was just in the zone. I was just making shots, concentrating on every shot, just trying to take control and give my team a chance to win.
Hardaway and the Heat now face the ultimate test, the defending champion Chicago Bulls. Miami had the league's best road record during the regular season, 32-9. They were also one of only 2 teams to beat Chicago at the United Center. And if the Heat hopes to win that series, they will have to take the Bulls' home court advantage away. In Miami, Mark Morgan, CNN SI.
Tell you what, nobody showed up for the Knicks except Patrick Ewing, but Tim Hardaway, the big story. Funny that, in the offseason last year, he sat and waited while Miami chased after all those other free agent point guards, still with the Heat, and he earned every penny of his money today.
Well, he certainly did, Larry. The thing that makes him so special is he can create a shot at any time. He can create a shot for himself or for his teammates, and when that shot is going, you're completely at his mercy. He has the quickness. Look at those crossover dribbles. 1, 2, and take it to the basket. There's just no way you can guard him. You have to respect his ability to drive, and when that outside shot is going, again, you're at his mercy, and he really came forward in a big way today with Zoe sitting on the bench.
7 assists also. Now we look ahead to the next series, Heat versus the Bulls, and already some pre-series psych jobs going on. Pat Riley said the Bulls are, he said they're already ready for, they're one of the best teams ever.
Yeah, they're trying to do the psych, but you know that both teams are going to come ready. Neither team is conceding anything, and that really should be an outstanding series.
Real quick, 1 week for the Bulls, 1 week of rest. Is that good rest, or is that just rust for Chicago as they now get ready for this grueling 7-game series?
They were a little rusty when they came out against the Hawks after a 6-day layoff, so there may be a little rust. As hard as they try to stay sharp, they may have a little rust, but they adjust pretty quickly.
Yeah, we got that guy named Michael that helps them out with that.
Yeah, he helps them a lot.
Well, still ahead of the show, there is a new sheriff in town. Karl Malone's been riding the Utah range for 12 years now, and finally the league has taken notice. We'll talk to the new MVP after this.
Budweiser.
On the next Impact, did some of America's largest companies take their pollution problems to the Mexican border? Those who live on Chemical Row point to a terrifying epidemic as proof. Plus, he's a Hollywood icon, a prolific big-time movie director with 29 films to his credit, yet we've never seen him. Art Harris reveals a tight-lipped Hollywood secret. Who is Alan Smithy on the weekly news magazine Impact on CNN International.
On the next Q&A, Iran Today, I'm Riz Khan. How do Iran's presidential candidates view the outside world? CNN's chief international correspondent, Christian Amanpour, looks at upcoming Iranian elections. Plus, our guest will field your questions only on CNN International.
Now from CNN International, Asian Edition, a daily roundup of the latest news, business, and weather forecasts reported live from Hong Kong. For a look at what's happening in Asia, watch for Asian Edition, only on CNN International.
Only 5 players have scored 25,000 points and grabbed 10,000 rebounds in their careers, and now 4 of them have won Most Valuable Player honors. Utah's Karl Malone beat out Michael Jordan of the Bulls for the award in the second closest voting since 1981. At 33 years old, Malone is the oldest Most Valuable Player ever. He went over the 2,000-point mark for an NBA record 10th consecutive year this season, leading the Jazz to a return trip to the Western Conference Finals. Malone hasn't averaged less than 25 points per game since his rookie season. The mailman received 11 more first-place votes than Jordan. His victory margin of 29 points, second only to the 22 points Magic Johnson beat Charles Barkley by back in 1990. Earlier today, Kelly Carter talked with the new MVP.
So what does winning the MVP award mean?
Well, I think, this is not an individual award that you go in and try to achieve all the time, What we happen to do is win 64 games. And with 64 games came this legitimate shot to win it. Then all of a sudden you win it, it's kind of like, you don't take all the credit because you have to have great teammates to win 64 games.
How do you explain getting ready to turn 34 in July and you're having one of your best seasons ever?
I'm ready to turn 34, but I still feel really good. I still feel that I can still play at this competitive edge for a number of years to come if I can stay healthy and if I can stay mentally into the game, because sometimes you get bored. And if I can stay mentally in tune to the game, I feel I want to play and see how long I can play now.
Did you ever think you would win the award as long as Jordan was in the league?
Well, I never thought I would win as long as Jordan, but I never thought I would. The more years I played, the less chance I thought I had. I had 3 or 4 what I thought was really, really good years, and I came in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And it's kind of like anything else, though. When you at least expect it or you stop thinking about it, boom, it happened. 12 years in the league, if you would have talked to me and told me I had a shot to win it after 12 years, I would have said, there's no way. But now all of a sudden I did, and it's more satisfying to me now because it's 12 years of playing this game, and then I win it.
Well, Malone and his well-rested Jazz have the home court edge in their conference final series with Houston beginning tomorrow night. Utah dropped back-to-back games to the Rockets back in November, but won the last 2 meetings this season, including a 21-point triumph just 5 weeks ago. Hakeem Olajuwon must play big for an older Rockets team that logged a lot of minutes in that 7-game marathon with the Sonics.
Seattle's not the best team in the West. We play them next. And like I said, that's going to be a war. They should be well rested. We let them get well rested. But if you're tired at this stage of the season, you should be doing something else.
Spoken like Sir Charles, but he's been down this road before, as have the Rockets. But how do these two teams match up?
Well, both of them play great half-court offense, and I think that really favors Houston, though, because Houston has 3 great go-to guys on the low post. Obviously, they got Olajuwon, they have Barkley, and they have Drexler. Utah only has Karl Malone as a great low-post scorer, but what Malone will have to do is get his teammates involved. He's a great passer. He has to involve Stockton, Malone, and Brian Russell. They have to get some offense from those perimeter players to really combat the great half-court offense. It'll probably be a half-court game for the most part, half-court series.
Yeah, 5 of the 10 starters for these two teams among the greatest players ever in the NBA, so it should be a great series for that reason alone. Some say it could be a desperation series. Both teams are 2 of the older teams in the league, and both may be feeling that right now, that's the last chance, last go-round before they try to get this ring.
I think Barkley's trying to take the heat off his teammates by making statements and putting the pressure on himself. He knows he was brought to Houston to bring a championship. They traded away basically the future of the organization. So, sure, he feels some pressure. And Karl Malone mentioning those 12 years are still very prevalent in his mind. So there are a lot of pressure on both ball clubs to really do it this year. This may be their last opportunity.
Do you like the series? Who do you like in the series?
It's going to be a very tough series and very difficult to take. I like the fact that Utah has the home court, but I like those 3 Hall of Famers for Houston, too. I favor Houston slightly.
Yeah, and Barkley wants that ring, too.
Yes.
Olajuwon has one, Drexler has one, Charles wants one, too. Well, next season, it's Tim Duncan coming to an arena near you. The question is, will he call a city near you home? Draft lottery results and the immediate fallout in the quest to land Mr. Duncan. You won't believe what happened just after this. We'll talk about it in a bit.
News and information are essential to today's travelers. Make certain you choose one of these fine CNN International Partner hotels next time you travel. For more information about these and other Sahid hotels, Turn to page 372 on CNN Text where available.
Recently on Travel Guide.
Legend says Mount Kinabalu is where the spirits of the dead go when they leave the body. From here, atop this lofty perch, they can look down on the lives of mere mortals, smiling perhaps at those who attempt to climb its sides. Mount Kinabalu lies on the northwest corner of Borneo. The summit trail stretches 3 miles or so from park headquarters up the mountainside, eventually ending 13,000 feet later at the summit. The trail is clearly marked with rest stops and shelters along the way. By some estimates, there are nearly 60,000 steps from start to finish. The climb is steep and relentless and takes most hikers several hours.
Travel Guide, Saturdays on CNN.
She is one of our most treasured stars, an extraordinary woman who has given audiences some truly magical moments. On her 90th birthday, she shares this magic with us, her life, her loves, her career.
I certainly wasn't cut out to be an intellectual, so what the hell? Be an actress?
A moving self-portrait, all about me, followed by her comedy classic, Woman of the Year, begins a Katharine Hepburn season on Monday nights in May on TNT Classic Movies.
Well, more often than not, lottery picks mean big contracts rather than NBA titles. Only 4 of the 118 lottery selections were championship rings. Still, that doesn't keep teams from dreaming, and today the draft order was set and the owner of the top pick was announced.
The third pick in the 1997 NBA draft goes to the Boston Celtics. The second pick in the 1997 NBA draft goes to the Philadelphia 76ers. And that means that the first pick in the 1997 NBA draft goes to the San Antonio Spurs. Congratulations.
So it's the Spurs, their first #1 pick since taking David Robinson a decade ago. Ironically, they didn't have a choice in last year's first round. Now, immediately after the selection process was announced, the selection order was announced, Celtics new head coach Rick Pitino called the Spurs and said he is willing to consider giving up that 3rd and 6th round picks for the Spurs, #1 overall. And, of course, the right to select Wake Forest big man Tim Duncan, one of the top centers that come out in a while and really years from now, the foreseeable future. But obviously the Celtics are not paying Rick all that money just to sit back and take whatever's handed to him in the lottery. Where does Tim Duncan, 6'10" center, all everything out of Wake Forest, 4 years down in Winston-Salem, where does he fit better in the NBA? At power forward with the Spurs alongside David Robinson, or as the center and the franchise player for the Celtics?
Oh, I think he'd be much better off playing alongside David Robinson. I mean, you've got a guy that's an MVP that can take a lot of the pressure. And let's face it, Duncan is only 6'10". If he has to come in the East and play center, he's going to be at a deficit right away. Of course, Boston does have Dino Radja, who's about 6'11", and they could play hand-in-hand also. So either way would be good for him. But if he had his druthers, he'd probably rather play with the Admiral.
Yeah, but still a big man in the NBA. They're so hard to come by. I mean, look at all the guys that are still drawing a paycheck that only sit the bench as backup. How big is having a big man in the NBA today?
You know, teams are learning to play without one. You look at the Detroit Pistons, who've done a good job without a dominant center at all, but they'd rather have one. It seems to go to that championship caliber of franchise. Unless you have Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Karl Malone type of players, you're not able to get over that hump without a dominating center. So it's truly a luxury and a treasure to have one, and that's why Rick Pitino is willing to give up so much for Tim Duncan.
On the other end of that lottery, we're talking at the other end of the draft, a very weak draft overall. 12th, 13th pick may not really get a lottery-type pick. You name the top 2 or 3 players, Duncan, Keith Van Horn of Utah, Ron Mercer of Kentucky. And it kind of drops off after that. 4, 5, and 6 could be anybody in there.
Yeah, but T looks real good out of Texas Tech, as a lot of teams are interested in him. But you may go down and see the high school player, Tracy McGrady, who may be in the top 10. And a couple of months ago, people thought maybe he shouldn't come out, but scouts really like him. He seems to be filling out a little bit, has all the skills, and everybody's excited because players like Kevin Garnett and even Kobe Bryant have really shown that they can get in the NBA and compete right away.
Yeah. Well, Phil Jackson hasn't had much to do on draft night recently, but that could soon change. The Bulls coach is the object of many teams' desire, and our insider tells us what may lie in store for Phil and the hoop deity who has put his future in his coach's hands. That's next on This Week in the NBA.
Day on a three. Nice. Oh! To midcourt. Fires out on the wing. The pass knocked down by Ward. Saves it in the backcourt. Elo's after it. He goes down. Stark. Falls on the floor. Skids. Got it. Oh, my goodness. Sharif. Bounce pass. Through the legs of Shaw. Oh, my.
Wussler and Jordan take it away. Jordan.
Iran, revolutionized by Muslim nationalists, crippled by war, hit with economic hardship. As Iran heads into a pivotal presidential election, CNN takes a closer look. All this week, watch for special reports from Christian Amanpour in Iran, plus special editions of Q&A with Riz Cobb and Insight with Jonathan Mann explore the issues now facing Iran. All this week on CNN International.
Of the 4 teams with coaching vacancies, it looks like Golden State could be next to tab its man. Reports are that University of Utah coach Rick Majerus was in Oakland this weekend to look things over. He could be receiving an offer in the neighborhood of $40 million to become the Warriors' next head coach. Of course, the hottest commodity among coaches is Chicago's soon-to-be free agent Phil Jackson. But just what does PJ think about the Magic's very wealthy offer? And how about that hoop deity Michael Jordan? What does he think of it? Well, that's among the tidbits offered by John Sullivan and Jackie McMullen in this NBA Insider.
Jackie, another disappointing postseason for the Sonics. Do you think this will mean major changes in their roster as far as dismantling the team?
Well, the big question the Sonics have is what do they do with Shawn Kemp? He clearly hurt this team, both in the regular season and the postseason, with all the distractions involved with him. He's a major talent, but he wants more money. What's going to happen with him? That's going to be the biggest key to the team. I think they're going to try to see what they can get for him and what's out there, but everybody knows that the baggage that comes with him. I think the rest of the team, if you look at Gary Payton, he proved why he should be considered one of the best players in the league. Jim McElvain was a mistake, but it's a mistake they're stuck with. They paid him that big money. There's still 4 years left on that contract. So I don't think they have too much maneuverability aside from Kemp. They've got to make a decision on him, and I think they're going to start shopping him around.
Jackie, is there trouble in Los Angeles with the Lakers? Nick Van Exel and Del Harris had a little spat in the playoffs.
Actually, Del and Van Exel sat down last Thursday. They had a great meeting. Going into it, Harris was thinking these two could never coexist. He came out of that meeting feeling much better. He told me he thinks maybe they can work together next season. Del is safe as head coach of the Lakers. Jerry West told me that himself. You're not going to see a change there. But I do think that the Lakers have to sort of explore the possibility of trading Van Exel. He makes about $1.8 million. That's short money for a guy with his talent. But everybody knows his emotional shortcomings. He comes with a lot of baggage, and there's no way Jerry West will trade Nick Van Exel unless he gets equal value, and I think that's close to impossible.
Do you think Phil Jackson will consider the Orlando offer $25, $30 million? And if he does consider it and ultimately leave Chicago, where does that leave Michael Jordan?
Well, I really think Phil Jackson is flattered by the Orlando offer, but my gut is, in talking to people close to him, that he's not going to take that job. In fact, I'll be surprised if he takes any of these jobs. I think the more likely scenario at this point is one of two things. At the 11th hour, the Bulls will pay him market value, which is going to be around $6, $7 million a season. I think that's unlikely. I think they've decided they don't want to do that. Or I think Phil Jackson may just sit out a year and explore his options. and everybody's waiting to see what does that mean with Michael Jordan. He told me 3 weeks ago, if Phil is gone, I'm going home to be with my family. He doesn't want to play for another team, and he definitely doesn't want to play for another coach. So there's a good chance that if Phil goes, Michael Jordan, you know, if he wants to back up his words, this could be it for him.
Karl Malone finally wins his Most Valuable Player award. Will that be topped off by the Jazz' first ever trip to the NBA Finals?
Well, I really think the Jazz should get there, and they look good to me, and I think Houston really was beat up in this Seattle series. Not so much physically, just a lot of playing time for an older team, and I think this is the Jazz year, and believe me, this award meant so much to Malone. You know, the last time I talked to him about it, he said, I don't want to admit this, but I really wanted this. It means so much to me. And what I can't wait to see is if the Bulls and the Jazz are in the finals. I'm telling you, everybody who even thought about voting for Michael Jordan better stay out of his way. And Karl Malone has already ruined the day that he stole this award from Jordan because of, there'll be hell to pay. You know there will be.
Great, Jackie. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Time now for our Federal Express delivery of the week. Hawks Bulls Game 5 in Chicago. Dennis Rodman with the no-look over-the-head pass to Brian Williams for the jam. It's definitely worth one more look. The worm. The nifty gift to Williams. Good enough for our delivery of the week.